Hey, you guys, we're going to be diving into this video series I promised you about because for the last several weeks, social media has just been exploding with speculation about what happened with Charlie Kirk. What began with Candace Owens has now spread across multiple accounts with half truths, insinuations, and speculations that are affecting Charlie's friends, his family, and the organization that he created, and even around the circumstances of his death. Each hour seems to bring another breaking news update that is supposed to bring you the actual truth, but instead of bringing the truth, all it brings is more confusion. It's doing the opposite of bringing clarity to the situation. For many who knew Charlie, this chaos and confusion feels like a second loss because Charlie was not about chaos. He was about ideas. Charlie built Turning Point USA in his mother's and father's garage. And I often give people crap about living in mom's basement, but this kid was 18 years old and he created a worldwide movement in order to give young people the ability to ask questions, to think for themselves, and to debate in a culture that often told them to shut up and conform. He believed that disagreements could be civil and that ideas can be shared in a way that wasn't hateful. And frankly, I need to take a page or two from Charlie's book on that. Charlie saw an entire generation that had forgotten what respectful debate looks like, and he set out to change that. And above all else, Charlie's foundation was his deep, deep belief in God and in Jesus Christ, our Savior. He didn't just speak about faith, he lived it. And he showed that whether behind a microphone or on a college campus, that he spoke the truth of the gospel of Jesus Christ without hatred, because truth and love can exist in the same breath. I believe that faith comes with conviction, not conformity, and that faith can be used to bring people together, not drive them apart. Charlie always brought receipts. He was meticulous about facts, and he would never want his friends, his family, or his organization to be smeared in the furtherance of someone else's narrative. That's why we're doing this. For Charlie, defending truth and protecting legacy is going to set the record straight, not with rumor, but with receipts, and not with emotion, but with evidence. We'll examine what's true, what's twisted, and who and what has been unfairly targeted so that Charlie's friends, loved one, and organization can live in truth and not rumors. Because at the end of the day, the truth should unite us, not divide us. The first thing we're going to examine in the Candace Owens series are the titles. As you can see, every single headline is designed to, for lack of a better word, and I hate this word, but it fits, trigger you, not inform you. One by one, these headlines build a pattern, not of truth, but of outrage. They imply corruption, betrayal, and frames the viewer as being a part of a secret club and some secret knowledge that they don't want you to know about. This is how propaganda works, people. You don't need to outright lie. You just need to flood the feed with emotion until confusion starts to feel like clarity. Candace released her first video on Charlie just 5 days after his murder, September 15th, 2025. The funeral had not even taken place, and the country was still in shock. The FBI released only preliminary information because they had to. That's not a cover-up. That's how every single homicide investigation works. All the evidence in this trial, whether it be audio, video, photos, autopsy, etc., are being withheld because they were not going to be released until the trial, because that's how justice is actually protected. But instead of explaining that, Candace decided to fill the silence with speculation. She claimed there were lies, cover-ups, and plots before there was even verified evidence. In that moment, while millions of us were grieving Charlie, she replaced grief with suspicion and unity with division. And that right there is what Charlie never would have wanted. Because Charlie built his foundation on conviction and faith, not chaos and clicks. When the world's out there looking for truth as to what happened to Charlie, Candace Owens gave them theater and jazz hands. And that's why we're here, to separate the truth for what is being told to make money. Again, the truth should unite us, not divide us. Let's talk about how propaganda actually looks in 2025, because I assure you, it does not look like it used to. In the past, propaganda came from centralized sources, government or media outlets that told people what to think. Today, it comes from influencers, people that we follow, that we like, and that we know. And that's why it's so dangerous, because when propaganda wears the mask of friendship, then it feels like the truth. Propaganda in 2025 is a 3-step process. Step 1, trigger emotion before reason. When Candace says things like, Charlie was publicly executed, or they're lying about what happened to him, she's not offering evidence, she's offering adrenaline. It's shock and fear first, and logic second. Because once your heart starts racing, your brain stops asking questions. That's how it starts. Emotion first and evidence later. But when grief and fear mix, truth becomes the casualty. Step 2, create a villain. Every episode title gives you one. The FBI, TPUSA, Israel, the media, or the blanket they. But who is they? Exactly. It doesn't matter, because the word they creates a blank canvas where every listener creates their very own enemy. That's how division spreads. When people think they're all fighting the same evil, but yet they all imagine something different. Step 3, flood the zone with noise. When there's limited information, and remember, the FBI is holding the evidence until the trial, that's when propaganda fills the vacuum. Dozens of videos, dramatic headlines, and unverified sources drown out the official factual record. The goal isn't to convince you of one truth. It's to make you doubt all truth. And once you stop trusting anyone, you're only going to listen to the one voice that continues to feed your emotions. That's not journalism. That's influence. It's algorithmic storytelling and outrage-based marketing. It is built to keep people watching, clicking, and to distrust everyone. Except, of course, that person behind the microphone. It's the digital form of gaslighting. Repeat something emotional long enough, and people will start remembering how something feels, rather than finding out if something is actually true. Candace Owens uses the language of manipulation. Like, nothing makes sense, and people are lying. These are emotional triggers, and they are very powerful. They're used to place doubt, anger, and fear in the minds of people who are still searching for understanding. Emotional assertion before evidence is how disinformation gains traction. When you're grieving, your defenses are down, and emotion feels like truth. When someone confident fills that silence with conviction, people follow. The tragedy of Charlie Kirk's death has now become a case study in how misinformation can spread faster than compassion. And the more that people exploit that grief, the harder it is to see things clearly. The people spreading confusion in Charlie's name aren't defending him. They are using him. Let's be clear. Charlie Kirk was many things: bold, fearless, and unafraid of hard conversations. But he was also rational, deliberate, and deeply guided by his faith. But the kind of divisive storytelling and wild speculation that is going on right now is the very opposite of how Charlie lived. Charlie believed that the only way to win was through truth, not distortion. And that is what this series is all about. Because if we don't, falsehood becomes history. Over the coming weeks, we are going to examine every single one of Candace Owens' claims one by one, separating verifiable facts from speculation. We'll show you what's real, what's missing, and why context matters. Not to divide, but to defend. For Charlie, for truth, and for the people still searching for peace. Because the truth should unite us, not divide us. If you also believe that truth matters, please make sure to follow and subscribe on every major social media platform at Angela Box Show. You do not want to miss the next episode. We'll be unpacking every claim, every fact, and every moment that deserves clarity. Teaser, episode 2. Who ordered that hit?